Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fathia. I'm the first speaker from Affirmative team. We have a debate today. The topic of today's debate is that public schools are better than private schools. I believe that public schools are better than private schools because usually public schools limit their capacity in terms of accepting students. This is enforced because of the large number of enthusiasts who want to enroll their children in public schools and to minimize the number of students in each class in order to create effective learning. Every state school applies such regulation. Then cost is an important choice for the impact of choosing a public schools or private schools as a destination. In short, the cost of public schools is relatively cheaper and even free, but it's different from private schools pay which have to pay higher fees so that their children can go to school there. Take examples such as books. Books are obtained free of charge. Some are given but some are loaned from the schools, but still we don't have to pay to buy books. Then school uniform. For this we also get them for free, and if our uniforms are damaged or lost, we can buy them back at uniform shops anywhere. And lastly is regarding the cost of school buildings. Even if in private schools, buildings fees are another compulsory matter that must be incurred. It is not the case with state schools because public school fees have been fully borne by the government. Therefore, parents do not need to worry about the problem of building costs. Private schools impose building fees as additional costs due to reason for buildings construction on or maintenance costs. Meanwhile, on other hand, the public school must follow the curriculum that has been determined by the Ministry of Education. All teaching and learning activities in school depend on the national curriculum that is used as a reference. Meanwhile, private schools have discretion in determining the curriculum used. Private schools that apply the Cambridge curriculum, for example, certainly have teaching and learning activities that are different from the national curriculum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabilah Mulia, the first negative speaker. I believe that public schools are not better than private schools. The main reason for choosing more private schools is the quality of education service. The point is how private schools have very intensive assistance to students. Private schools consider parents to be customers and children are entrusted to be delivered to better achievement. So that the school provide maximum service. Private school also have many advantages compared to public school. The quality of higher quality education service is the reason for choosing private school. The test advantages that make private schools in interest. For example, association. Public school are not favorite school are considered more free, while the private school is usually more disciplined and the quality is better.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rania Alifia Putri, the second affirmative speaker. I believe that public schools are better than private schools. Firstly, I'm talking about the cost. The cost is something that we must determine first. If we want to send our children to private schools, there are lots of funds that you have to pay other than tuition fee. If we choose public schools, we can save our money. There is no such thing as an admission fee and no tuition fee because it has been subsidized by the government. Secondly, when we can send our children to public schools, of course, it will give us a sense of pride. It's different from private schools where anyone can attend these schools as long as they have money. And lastly, public schools are also usually more often looked at by universities than private schools. This is an added point for students who attend public schools. Public universities often look at them as a bridge for us to send our children to the next stage. This makes public schools superior compared to private schools.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Della Islamiati, the second negative speaker. I believe that public schools are no better than private schools because private schools guarantee all their service of the highest quality, facilities and infrastructure of comfortable environment, school activities and security, so that anyone who enters private school will feel comfortable with sufficient capital and the quality of teaching that excites. The standard in general, most parents still choose private school as educational choices for their children, not only when studying but also when playing with friends. It can be seen from the number of private schools that have made achievement as Islamiati school. This is where parents feel their children will feel comfortable school. Moreover, the security factor is usually well maintained. There are security guards covering homeroom, teachers, plus pick up and so on. The reason for choosing the next private school is that the teachers are qualified. So teachers in private school do not only educate smart children, there are also ordinary ones. This is the specialty of teachers in private school. Simply put, teachers in private school, if they don't work hard, will not get the attention of the school. Then you have to work hard. So that the average teachers follow the passion of an educator instance accompanying student. It's not scary. The entrance fees and monthly private school are very high. This is what guarantees private schools have the best quality compared to public school. So, in general, both of them experienced difficulties because they were under government supervision. If the parents choose one of the two, it is not a problem.
I disagree with first affirmative opinion because the quality make private school many in interest. Private school have the flexibility to determine the curriculum used from the advance owned by private school that independent upper not fixed the curriculum and also has the best graduation guarantee. The ability of student will continue be developed through the learning method of exploring its talents. So student will be the best graduates who become expert in the field, and this is very prioritized because as one of the advantages of private school that are not fully owned by public school. So the conclusion is that in our opinion, because public school are not better private school because the high price are comfortable to the best quality service provided by private school. The best service in terms of education, friendliness, comfort, and safety of the school environment are truly granted. The development of talents and abilities of every student in private school is great concern. The guarantee for the best graduates who master a certain field is higher, so that the opportunity to continue studying or working in a well-known place is very potential.
Rebuttal to negative speaker. I disagree because it sufficient capital and the quality of teaching the exists. The standard in general, most parents still choose private school as educational choices for their children, not public school. Public schools are indeed the best because they are supported by the government. However, private schools also have many advantages over public school. Plus, strength is the reason why private schools are always in demand by parents of their students today. In general, the two of them have similarities because they are under government supervision. If parents choose, one of the two is also fine. It is an open secret. The entrance fee and monthly private school are quite high. This is what ensures that private schools are of the best quality compared to public private schools, ensuring all services are of the best quality, starting from educational service, facilities, and infrastructure, environmental, comfort, activity school, and security. So, in solution, I still believe private schools are better than public schools because for parents of students, price can decide to be second. However, scientific and character education is number one. Only in private school can student get Only in private school can student get scientific education talk, curriculum plus and character education talk, defining religion. Thank you.
The first speaker of the negative team has tried to tell us the adequate educational facilities. They said that private schools have more adequate educational facilities. Unlike public schools, private schools provide the best service in terms of education. That may be true, but I think the quality of the educational facilities in public schools is also better than what private schools have. In private schools, there are indeed several good educational facilities. For example, a more comfortable classroom equipped with air conditioning, LCD projector, laptop, and other learning aids that support teaching and learning activities. However, nowadays, there are many public schools that have good educational support facilities. The classrooms are painted neat and clean. There are laboratories and libraries that use air conditioning. The bathrooms and canteens in public schools are also clean. Not all private schools have good educational facilities. There are still many private schools that have much worse educational facilities than public schools. My final thought is that public schools are better than private schools. Starting from educational facilities, the cost, the curriculum, and the fee of public schools is still very high. Many people are competing so that their children can enter public schools and get education there. Thank you.
After hearing the second speaker's statement from the negative team, her explain about the quality of private schools in terms of teaching and service in schools. I will here rebuttal to this. The first, in terms of teaching, public schools have teachers who are on average a civil servant. To become a civil servant is not easy, so it is not just someone who teaches in public schools. Meanwhile, private schools teaching staff are private employees. Civil servants get a salary that is more than adequate. Besides that, they also get financial allowance outside of their basic salary, which is not the same as private employees. The second, then regarding the quality of service in schools, in general, sending children to public schools is relatively cheaper than private schools because private schools financing relies more on levies or student participation or student guardianship of student of state schools depend on the government. Even so, public schools facilities are relatively better because not all private schools have more financial resources. However, in terms of getting attention from the government, both public and private schools have the same opportunity to compete for funding from the government. Only public schools take precedence because based on the 1955 Constitution, Article 31, paragraph 4, the state priorities the education budget of at least 20% of the state revenue and expenditure budget as well as from the regional income and expenditure budget to meet the needs of national education delivery. Finally, I think that public schools are better than private schools when viewed from a variety of things. For example, the cost, the quality of education, teaching staff, facilities, and other things that support learning. Another thing that cannot be denied is that currently many children want to enter public schools but have to compete for places because of the insufficient capacity in public schools. Thank you for listening.